Joining us now, Congressman Dan Goldman, who served as lead counsel in the first impeachment of former President Donald Trump. First, I'd like to just get your reaction to the report that was released today and now the president's response to it.
Well, look, the big takeaway is exactly what the president said, which is that he was completely exonerated. I actually think that the special counsel went way overboard in concluding that anything he did in retaining the classified information was willful, knowing, or intentional. The evidence just simply does not support that. So, and that, of course, is insufficient to charge him, as he said. So the president was exonerated. The rest of it was very slanted, partisan editorializing by a Republican-appointed prosecutor. The material that he was talking about, his memory, was completely irrelevant to what his charging decision was. He was editorializing about why the president wrote his memoirs. Throughout the entire thing, he elides over what are clear exculpatory facts. And the reality is that there is no evidence that the president knew that he had classified materials in his possession when he was not authorized to have them, which would have been from 2017 until 2021. So this is 379 pages that really needed about 10 pages to be concluded. The extraneous material that he's talking about, his memory, and I think the president did a very good job of refuting it, is not only uncalled for, but unnecessary and personal. Obviously, the president knows when his son died. That was an incredibly traumatic moment for him. If he had a momentary blip where he couldn't remember it as his mind is racing from the war in the Middle East to the questions that he's been asking, I think that's understandable for any of us. But I will say this as well. The president called me on October 7th when I was in Israel, the day before this interview. And as you just heard him describe in all of his conversations with world leaders around the Middle East, he was incredibly on point. His recall, his knowledge of a very tricky geopolitical situation was remarkable right off the bat. And he had spoken to a number of leaders and he knew exactly where the pressure points were. He knew exactly what to be worried about, the second level, the third level, the fourth level. And that's where his age is so beneficial, because he has 50 years of foreign policy experience. He understands the geopolitical dynamic better than just about everyone, and certainly better than Donald Trump. And so there's a flip side to this age, and I saw it myself personally as he was talking about it. I think the viewers saw it right now as he was describing the various conversations he's had with world leaders. This president is very steady leading us on the international stage. He's done a fabulous job rallying our allies in Europe to support Ukraine. The European Union has given far more money to Ukraine than we have. And we ought to be lucky to have his experience at the helm.
I want to go back to the specifics of the report describing him as a sympathetic, well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory. And to that, tonight, President Biden said these extraneous comments, they don't know what they're talking about. They don't belong in this report. But I do want to flag just a moment tonight when you were just describing for another point what the viewers saw right now. Do you want to talk about this moment where he mentions the president of Egypt? Let's play that clip.
I'm of the view, as you know, that the conduct of the response in Gaza, in the Gaza Strip, has been over the top. I think that, as you know, initially, the president of Mexico, Sisi, did not want to open up the gate to allow humanitarian material to get in. I talked to him. I convinced him to open the gate. I talked to Bibi to open the gate on the Israeli side. I've been pushing really hard to get humanitarian assistance into Gaza.
And so the president tonight did confuse the name of the presidents of Egypt with Mexico. Of course, we all make mistakes. But do you feel at this point that it's a fait accompli, that he's not able to get underneath, get beyond that scrutiny about his mental fitness?
Are you going to ask the same question of Speaker Mike Johnson, who mistakenly referred to Israel as Iran, or the vice versa on Meet the Press this past weekend?
Well, in fairness, I mean, he's not running for the highest land in the office, right? In the land. I mean, I think that there is.
Just, it's okay for the Speaker of the House to do that, but it's not okay for the president to occasionally make these mistakes. Look,
I'm actually just asking a question. I'm not making a presumption one way or another. I'm just asking a question. That's all. I'm just saying, do you think that it's fair for him to be held at a higher standard?
Something as well. But I think the president was onto something as well. And it was reflected by the subject matter of the questions that were asked of him tonight. And every single one of those questions focused on this issue of this unnecessary extraneous editorializing by the special counsel, who's a Republican, and certainly was going to get flack from the Republican side of things because he wasn't charging President Biden, whereas Donald Trump was charged. Every question is related to that, but you're not questioning Mike Johnson for why he's mistakenly referring to different countries. And the point is that it really doesn't show anything except for what everyone wants to focus on and try to spin it. The reality is, and I got asked about this earlier today as well, that he referred to Prime Minister Macron in France as Mitterrand. And yes, that's right. Joe Biden has 50 years of experience, and he may mistake which leader of a particular country is now versus when he was dealing with them at another time. I think this is being so overblown, and especially because what followed from what he said about President Sisi was such a firm mastery and understanding of that entire region, of the conversations with Saudi Arabia relative to normalization and including them in the Abraham Accords. He knew exactly which direction Iran was relative to Saudi Arabia and why Hamas might have been interested. This is someone who has such a firm grasp of foreign policy, and by nitpicking because he obviously mistook Mexico for Egypt as he's talking to Sisi, I think is irresponsible. And I think that the media needs to stop playing this up as if it is some major thing, unless you're also going to do it with Speaker Mike Johnson or anyone else who makes a mistake. And I certainly make mistakes as well.
No, we all make mistakes. I think that the issue here is that is what is under attack in this report, is his memory. And so when he's defending his memory and has a mistake like this, that's the only reason why I'm asking the question. If Mike Johnson, if his mental fitness was being attacked and his memory was being attacked and he continued to make those kinds of mistakes, I'd be asking the same question. But I do want to move on, Congressman. What do you say to those like Dean Phillips, who's running for president on the Democratic side, who says the special counsel's report essentially hands Trump the election?
I think that's false. I think what everyone will soon realize is that this is a Republican special counsel who completely went out of his way to editorialize, to include material in his report that is unnecessary and irrelevant to what he was tasked with doing. And the fact that he's Republican and he's exonerating President Biden, and he knows he's going to be under attack because Republicans want to create this false equivalency between President Biden and former President Trump. And so he throws something in there to help his fellow Republicans. What you don't see in this report is what you saw in Special Counsel Mueller's report, which is 10 specific incidents of Donald Trump obstructing justice. What you do see in this report is incredible cooperation, full cooperation by President Biden, who respects the independence of the Department of Justice, respects the role of the Department of Justice, and respects the fact that a Republican special counsel, he said he thought that was correct, that he should have been assigned to this. Donald Trump has no respect for the rules, no respect for a criminal justice system, no respect for the law. And let's focus on the distinction between Joe Biden's cooperation about similar issues and Donald Trump's gross abuse and obstruction in order to hold on to classified materials that he knew full well were classified and that he should not do it. That should be the story here. It shouldn't be a story about some offhand comment by a Republican special prosecutor that has nothing to do with what he was charged to investigate or conclude. Congressman Dan Goldman, we thank you so much for your time.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.